Okay, so if you're having problems adding fractions, let's take a look at something. First of all, I'm going to say that 2/3 plus 1/4 does not equal 3 over 7. Let's try to figure out why that's by first examining this problem. 2/5 plus 3/15. Okay, so if you notice here, I have 2 bars out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's 2 out of 5. That's what 2/5 means. I can get rid of those 3 that we're not going to use. And then we're adding on to it 13/15. So here's 5, 10, 11, 12. Let me duplicate that one. Now we have 13. So if you notice, all of these are exactly the same size. So it's very easy to say that we have a total of 15 slices of pizza. And how many slices of pizza are in one pie? That's a total of 5. So the answer is 15 out of 5. Notice the denominator didn't change. We only added the numerators together. But the denominators started as being exactly the same number. So now we hit a slightly different problem. We don't add the numerators because the denominators don't equal each other. You might be saying, well, why not? Just because Mr. Bryce says so, does that mean that that's true? Well, 2/3, here are 3 squares that are exactly the same size. This one was divided into thirds, so I'm going to get rid of one of the thirds. So if I get rid of one of the thirds, and it tells me also get rid of 3 out of the 4 pieces here, so we have 1/3 plus the quarter, and another third plus the quarter. Does that equal 3 out of 7? Well, the square on the right and the square on the left were exactly the same. So is this square here the same size as just these 3 pieces out of a total of 7? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's what 3/7 means. Well, it's obvious that these 2 squares are not the same size. So what do you do when we're trying to add the fractions together? What we have to do is we have to get a common denominator. So there are a couple ways to take a look at what a common denominator is. First of all, since 3 and 4 are so close to each other, you can count by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12. 4, 8, 12. So the common denominator is going to be 12. But whatever you do to the bottom of the fraction, you have to do the top of the fraction. To get to 12, I multiply 3 times 4. There we go, that looks better. The problem was actually 2/3, so I wrote 2/3 there. So again, to get to 12, I do 4 times 3 is 12. Whatever I do to the bottom, 4 times 4, 4 and 4, I got to do to the top. So 4 times 2 is 8. This one, 1/4, to get to 12, I just have to multiply it by 3. Well, we all know 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm not changing this fraction any. I'm just multiplying it by 1. What do I get? I get 8 over 12 plus 3 over 12. So let's take a look at these pieces over here. So I just changed the square. When I hit pause, I changed it into a square that's divided into 12 pieces because my denominator is 12. This says cut it into 12 pieces. That's what a denominator means. So the first thing is that I take 2/3. So I'm going to take 2 of these. Line them up with the other square. Then it says take 1 out of 4 Same exact size square, just divided into 4 pieces. And I can do 8 plus 3 over 12. 8 twelfths, we have a common denominator, so the denominator stays the same, is 11 out of 12. And that's exactly where these line up. There are 11 of them. You can hit pause and count them. So I'm going to go ahead to the next page in a second. Okay, so here's just a quick review of what we went over. When adding or subtracting fractions, you have to find a common denominator. Then you just add the numerators. The common denominator is the least common multiple of the two parts. So for our last example, we want to find a common denominator before adding those together. You can either count by 8s and count by 6s, or you can factor them. When you factor them, what we want to do is we want to see, okay, as a factor, we have one set of 2s, and that's it. So what I just did was I wrote the prime factorization of it, and the one set of 2s, I'm only going to use that once. So those kind of join together to become one number. I'm going to do 2 times 2 times that 2, this one set of 2s, times 3. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. We can see by counting by the 2s, that's what we get also. Okay, so the common denominator is 24. Now, what do I have to multiply 8 by to get to 24? That's 3. So I'm going to do 3 times that 5. What do I have to multiply 6 by to get 24? That's 4. So I'm going to do 4 times 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. So I add those together. 15 plus 20 is 35. The denominator still stays the same. So when we add 5/8 and 5/6, it's 35 over 24. We're keeping it as a fraction. We're not simplifying it into a mixed number. If there are any questions, make sure you ask me in class tomorrow. Go on to the next video.